Who has the bigger legend?
Depends on where you ask that question.
Yeah, that was just about to say the same thing. Yeah.
If you go to Europe, Dirk 100%. He's like the first one to break that mold. That's not Tony Kukoc kind of.
But like
But
KG being from
Drazen
Chicago.
Petrovic, even, like if we're going like way back. But like
Mhm.
KG for like, for all of the trash talkers in the world, for all like I mean, one of his goated quotes, pardon my language, grandma, if you're watching this, when Eric Gordon took that shot from the corner, he's like, hell no, trash ass nigga. That's legendary. That's going down in history as like top. We hear that at the park all the time. Like, like it lives on. And I think, I think if we're gonna be worldly about it, it's Dirk. If we're being homeless about it and we're talking like NBA ball, US ball, it's KG. Like I think it's just at that point what Dirk represents for European ball and what KG represents for street ball. I think that's probably just the only way to put it.
So, hot take. If I'm considering just the NBA, I think Dirk might have the bigger legend. Now, I don't think y'all are wrong at all in regards to what KG means to the culture of basketball, specifically with trash talking. But when we talk about Dirk's meteoric rise, when we talk about Dirk being one of those players that like has that weird game that you can't really figure out, that you can't guard, and you think you can rattle him, but you can't. Once he really got comfortable, and then once it got from okay, I'm finding my spots off of a point guard to no, you can play through me now. I think the legend that became Dirk in that run, even against the Heatles more specifically, I think that legend of Dirk is a bit bigger. I just don't think KG had the moment that Dirk had in winning that championship.
I mean, Dirk was David who took down Goliath. Like the Lakers had a great team that year, but they were playing the it's Lakers Celtics. Like both of these teams are expected to be great, but we all know the infamous press conference, and not one, not two, not three, and for Dirk to end that in the way that he did, it had a lot of people talking, and I don't remember a lot of people chalking it up to like, oh, LeBron choked or the Heat choked. It was like, no, Dirk hooped his ass off. Dirk was hooping. So yeah, I think there is a bigger folklore. Like if we were going to talk about NBA folklore, we're going to tell our grandchildren about the 2011 NBA Finals. I think that's a way more vivid picture to paint than Boston and winning against the Lakers.
Yeah, and I think to like just add a cherry on top, just like I think just being on one team your whole career and trying to duke it out at one spot and get it done. I think that holds more respect to, not just like their NBA colleagues, but just NBA fans too, where it's just like, oh yeah, like he didn't run from the grind. That's like a common theme that we see nowadays, where it's just like, oh yeah, like Giannis gets that praise for sticking it out in Milwaukee and bring one here. So
last caveat about KG and Dirk. KG, I think that there's definitely credit. This is a complete side note, doesn't necessarily relate to anything specific. I give him credit for being a part of the storied rivalry of Boston and LA and getting a win there. I mean, you got to think they also went to the finals 2 of those 3 years. I think they went in 2008. I don't think they went in 2009, but they went back in 2010 and lost.
Or where it's like, Kobe passed me the ball. He never passed me the ball. Kobe passed me the ball, and I shot a 3. Sorry, that's that one, right? That's 2010?
Yes, that's 2010.
I didn't watch it.
But however, let's not forget that those Boston teams were still very good and very formidable in the early 2010s. Just couldn't get past the Heatles.
Yeah.
But they easily could have been in at least 2 more finals.
I mean, the LeBron game was it Game 6 in Boston.
Yep.
Their back was against. They were going to go home if they didn't win that game. So I mean, they were that close to going back. So,
and we quickly forget those were Rajon Rondo versus LeBron. That wasn't even like any one of like the true big three. It was Rajon Rondo putting up 40-point triple doubles against LeBron, which was dumb.
Hooping. He was hooping.
Rondo was on a different level. He was on something at that time because I had never seen that man ball like that consecutively, like game after game. He was like that was when it was Rajon Rondo's team. Like, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're protecting kids on this podcast.
So are we solely removing that man because
he's a pedophile? He's over here. If we're gonna drop the
terrible
ball,
human being. I agree.
No, and you know what? Because basketball talk. Yeah, he's like probably like number 2, whatever. But my man, I'm not gonna give the details. Just Google Karl Malone 13.
Or not. Just take our word for it. You don't have to.
No. But hey, if NBA historians would like to do their homework, or how about you just Google Karl Malone NFL player, because there's a connection there. But he got a lot of points. Good for him. Congratulations. He was on that Jordan doc, and everyone groaned. We could talk about him. If you want to talk about Karl Malone, we can talk about Karl Malone.
No, well, okay.
He was a mailman.
We don't necessarily have to talk about him because, in all honesty, outside of him being a terrible human being,
awful.
From a resume perspective, I don't think that he's two outside of being the third. Outside of being third on the all-time scoring list. I think when you look at his resume, he's a 2-time NBA MVP, 14-time All-Star. 14-time All-NBA. Yes, there's 11 first teams in there. He's 4-time All-Defense, 3 first teams. His career numbers are good, 25, 10, and 3. Like, those are probably the highest that we've seen on this list. But outside of his legend being with Stockton and his legend being that they played Jordan in the finals and lost, I don't see that as a resume compared to the rest of these resumes that necessarily stands out or makes him two. I think when he was second all time on the scoring list for a while, it didn't seem like nobody was going to pass him, or we didn't know, that held a little bit more value. But as of right now, in 10 years, he probably won't be in the top 5. You know what I'm saying?
Kevin Love with a better point guard.
Malone was really just, I don't know. I think one of the only appropriately decorated NBA players in terms of, like, he never won. He was never just like the 8th man on a championship team, so he doesn't have like a ring that he didn't earn, or he doesn't have an award that he didn't earn. And he's not one of those guys that you look back and you're like, we should give him his flowers. Like, he didn't, get enough credit. So, like, I think he's a rare case where his accolades very much speak for the career that he had. They don't go above a certain line, they don't go below a certain line, and it just kind of is what it is. And your point, Qualls, I don't think that stands the test of time compared to these other guys.
Yeah.
Where it's like they were individual players that achieved what they did. Not to say that Karl Malone couldn't do it without John Stockton, but he would do far less without John Stockton. Like,
agreed.
Not like his individual game stood out so much that it was like, oh, Karl Malone and John Stockton. It was you were with the best point guard ever that has the most assists in NBA history, and most of those assists are attributed to you because the offense was based in a pick and roll. Like, he was a product of his environment. He's a product of his environment, like Tim Duncan, but ringless and achievementless. 2-time MVP. When did those MVPs come?
The year Jordan didn't win.
Yeah.
Jordan went to go play baseball, and Malone won him an MVP. I think that's
100%. 100%. He is a product of his environment fully, where it's just like, congratulations, you put up a lot of, I don't want to say empty stats, but it feels like empty stats, where it's like, you did all of this work for what? What did you really get? Like, Charles Barkley did less, but still probably achieved just as much as what he did.
Yeah, they were stats of his time.
I've never seen Karl Malone highlights.
97 and 99, by the way, were his MVP years.
Okay.
So 99. I was 3.
It was probably the year before he went to the Lakers, right? Or like 2 years before he went to the Lakers.
He went to the Lakers in like 04. Or like he went there late. Like he went there. It was him and Gary Payton. Him and Gary
Yeah.
Payton after Gary Payton retired on us like a bum.
I think both of them got to. I think that Lakers team, they all came in 03, if I'm not mistaken. They all came to the team in 03.
Because we traded Ray Allen for Desmond Mason and Gary Payton. Gary Payton retired because he's soft and he's like, I'm gonna go to LA. So I remember that one. I remember that one. If I gotta see another AD Giannis debate, I'm going to jump off of the highest surface I can find. It might be this table in my timeshare. There's no. Oh man, LA fans grind my gears with that combo because okay, wait. I'm the first one. This is my first time doing this. Question to y'all: in that Giannis AD conversation, which way does the I'm doing this. I'm literally in math class learning what that's called, and I forgot what it's called. The over under, the greater than or less than symbol. Who has the greater than symbol in that debate?
Of who?
Giannis and AD.
Right now?
All time. Take their careers as a whole.
Giannis.
It's Giannis. Yeah, it's
Okay. I'm talking to like-minded people. If we have LA fans in the chat, it's always going to be AD. Who's the more skilled player? Who has more? I'm tired of hearing that BS. Let me just.
AD is more. If we're just talking like skill, like if we're getting into the technicality of skill, yeah, AD
it's
is
AD.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
AD
a
is
point guard in high school. Like a growth spurt is the reason why he's a big man. It's not because he was bred to be a big man. But I think
Giannis runs point guard better than AD as a.
I think Giannis is a better. I think Giannis is a better playmaker. Like generally speaking, Giannis is a better playmaker than AD and has developed.
But you're talking like finishing, footwork, little stuff in the game where it's just like
like AD has more finesse. AD has legitimate guard skills. So when you're talking about skill, he's the more skilled player. But Giannis is more available. I feel like Giannis, generally speaking, is more dominant. Now, could be a controversial take. I do think that AD can impact a game more because of the levels that he can impact on both sides of the ball. Because his offensive game is a little bit more versatile and playing through him doesn't create as much stagnance as it can with Giannis at times, just from a skill perspective. If we're talking completely healthy ability to take over a game and impact a game, AD probably can impact it a little bit more. But that's just me, being technical for the sake of the argument. Do I still think that Giannis has had the better career up to this point? And is he on track to have the better career? Yes. But we're also talking about two players that have the same amount of championships. AD has not had an MVP. AD has not gotten an MVP. AD has been in the conversation and probably should have a defensive player of the year, though. So we're really talking apples and oranges here, and we're talking a lot of media bias as well, because as much as we're Giannis fans and we love Giannis, there was definitely a stretch of time where it just made sense for Giannis to win the way that he was winning in terms of awards. It just made sense as he was
called him a Robin.
As much he was transcending into becoming a face of the league, so it just kind of made sense, for that to happen.
But I will say he was fighting against a narrative of his own, because they were cooked. Like AD has gotten every pass in the book of like, if he's healthy, he's a top. I mean, yeah, like past the injury prone stuff, like it's been like, if he's healthy, he's like, he's one of the best players that's touched the court. If AD's here, like he's way better than any player. Like he still gets credibility over Giannis about being a better player for some odd reason. But then Giannis is over here, the best player on his team, and he's still getting called a Robin because he's not taking the last shot every single time. Like I never understood that. Whether it's like small market bias or what it was, I've never seen a star player go through so much adversity besides LeBron, of like them calling him out of his name. They're trying to call Chris Middleton the Batman of the team for like that whole stretch.
He was the best player in the playoffs for the Bucks last year by far and away. Injuries or not, but whole different discussion. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's hard for it's hard too because a lot of it is just kind of flag that's invented to create conversation, and a lot of it is created by people who don't really seem to understand the game of basketball. But I think what gets lost in is that we have two great players who play the same position, who play completely different games, but are very dominant in very separate ways. And yeah, I think Quaz, like you said, to me, it's always been apples and oranges. Like just because they play the same position, it's hard for me to compare. Because like AD was spoon fed, like he was the non-pro on the our dream team, like in 2012. So you put Giannis around a group of NBA All Stars when he's 17, 18 years old, like a lot of things happen. Yeah, a lot could be different, but things happen for a reason. But